Many years ago, in a land where mountains scraped the clouds and deserts stretched beyond the horizon, there lived a man named Darian. He was not always the man he became. Once Darian had been a traveler, restless, brave, and hungry for the world. He had crossed frozen rivers with nothing but determination in his bones. He had walked through deserts where the sun pressed down like a burning hand. He had climbed mountains that tried to break him with every step, and every journey left scars on his body and fire in his spirit. He was alive in the truest sense of the word, but one journey almost ended him. A winter storm caught him in the highlands, the kind of storm that swallows men whole and spits nothing back. For 3 days, Darian crawled through ice and wind that cut his skin like shattered glass. He lost feeling in his hands on the first night. He lost hope on the second. By the time he stumbled into a small stone house at the edge of a forgotten village, he was more dead than alive. The house had one room, and that room was warm. Not hot, not cold. Perfectly, endlessly warm. A fire burned in the hearth that never seemed to need feeding. The walls were thick enough to silence every sound from outside. The air was soft and still. For a man who had nearly died in the cold, it felt like heaven itself had wrapped its arms around him. Darian told himself he would stay one night, then 1 week, and 1 month. Then he stopped counting altogether. He never left. Years passed inside that warm room. 5, 10, 15. The world continued beyond his door. Seasons changed, storms raged. Travelers walked past, sharing stories of mountains conquered and oceans crossed. Darian heard their voices through the thick walls. He heard laughter from people who had faced suffering and survived it. He heard singing from people who had lost everything and still found reasons to open their mouths. Each time Darian pulled his chair closer to the fire and told himself the same thing. I am the wise one. They are out there struggling and bleeding. I am in here comfortable and safe. They are fools. But comfort is a patient killer. It does not strike like a storm or cut like ice. It wraps around you slowly, gently, warmly, like arms that hold you so softly you do not realize they are holding you down. Darian's legs grew weak because he never walked further than the distance from his chair to his bed. His eyes grew dull because they never saw anything new. Only the same fire, the same room, reflected back at him year after year. His hands, once strong enough to grip mountain rock, grew soft and trembling because they never reached for anything difficult. But the worst change was the one he could not see. His heart grew quiet, not broken, not wounded. Quiet the way an instrument goes silent when no one plays it for years. The strings are still there. The body is intact. But the music is gone because nothing has touched it. Darian could not remember the last time he felt joy. Not comfort, but real joy. The kind that explodes in your chest when you survive something you thought would destroy you. He could not remember the last time he felt fear or laughed until his ribs ached or cried from something that truly mattered. He was breathing, but he had stopped living. And the distance between those two things is where the soul quietly goes to die. One evening, a knock came at his door. Darian opened it and found an old woman standing in the rain. She had deep lines carved into her face by decades of sun and wind and hard living. Her clothes were worn thin. Her boots were cracked at the soles. But her eyes burned with something Darian had not seen in 15 years. They were alive. Fully, dangerously, beautifully alive. I need water, she said simply. And a moment by your fire. Darian let her in. She sat near the hearth and drank slowly, her sharp eyes moving across the room. She looked at the chair worn smooth by 15 years of sitting. She looked at the thick walls with no windows. She looked at Darian, his soft hands, his dull eyes, his body that had long forgotten what effort felt like. She said nothing for a long time. Then she spoke. How long have you been in this room? 15 years. Darian said quietly. "And in those 15 years, what have you felt?" Darian opened his mouth, then closed it. The silence that followed was the loudest sound that room had ever held. The old woman nodded as if his silence was the answer she expected. "I have walked through blizzards that nearly froze my blood solid," she said. "I have crossed deserts where I drank my own tears to survive. I have buried my husband in hard ground and my daughter in soft ground, and I have carried grief so heavy I thought my spine would snap beneath the weight of it." She looked directly into his eyes. "And I would not trade a single moment of it for this room." Darian flinched as if her words carried physical weight. "Your room is warm, Darian, but warmth without winter is not comfort. It is numbness. You have not felt cold in 15 years, and that is exactly why you have forgotten what warmth actually means. You have not felt pain, so you have forgotten what relief feels like. You have not struggled, so you have forgotten what strength is." She stood and walked toward the door. "You chose this room because the world hurt you once. I understand that. But the storm lasted 3 days, Darian. Your hiding has lasted 15 years. The storm almost killed your body. But this room has done something worse. It has killed your spirit while keeping your body perfectly preserved." She opened the door. Rain and cold wind rushed in like something that had been waiting 15 years to enter. Darian shivered violently, a tremor his body had forgotten how to make. "Your room has no storms," she said quietly from the doorway. "And that is exactly why you have stopped living. A life without struggle is not a life. It is a waiting room. And you have been sitting in it for 15 years, waiting for something that will never come, because everything worth having is on the other side of that door." She stepped into the rain and disappeared. Darian stood staring at the open door. Cold air moved through the room for the first time in 15 years. The fire flickered wildly. His skin erupted in goosebumps. His eyes stung from the sharp air. Every instinct screamed at him to close the door. Return to the chair. Be safe. But her words echoed through him like wind through a hollow mountain. Everything worth having is on the other side of that door. He looked at his chair. He looked at the fire. He looked at the walls that had held him like gentle hands for 15 years. And for the first time he saw them clearly. Not as protection, but as a coffin built for a man who is still breathing. Darian stepped through the door. The rain hit his face like 1,000 cold needles. The wind cut through his thin clothes. His weak legs trembled beneath him. Everything hurt. Everything was uncomfortable. Everything was terrifying and overwhelming and raw. And for the first time in 15 years, Darian felt something real. Not comfortable, not safe, not warm, alive. Perhaps you too have built a warm room around yourself. Perhaps your comfort zone is not a stone house, but a job you have outgrown, a relationship that no longer challenges you, a routine that protects you from failure by protecting you from trying. Perhaps you have been sitting in your chair so long that you have mistaken numbness for peace and safety for living. If so, hear what a weathered traveler once told a man who had been hiding from life for 15 years. Comfort is not your friend. It is the softest enemy you will ever face. It will not attack you. It will not wound you. It will simply hold you so gently that you never realize you have stopped breathing. The storm outside your door will hurt. The cold will sting. The struggle will break you open in ways that terrify you. But broken open is how the light gets in. And the life you are waiting for will never find you in your chair. It is standing outside in the rain, waiting for you to be brave enough to open the door.